pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is the Fightin' Phils podcast. Philly Fanatics podcast. Ah, damn. Screwed up that intro, but not a big deal, because welcome, everybody, to your Phillies talk.
Phil's getting another series win against a top-tier opponent that could affect our long-term wild card.
It's a good confidence booster for later when you're coming down the stretch with them and everybody's like, oh, they could go to St. Louis in the playoffs. Well, we won there in the regular season, so it can be done.
Exactly. It's a good series win, man. I'm feeling very confident about this inconsistent lineup.
Oh, my goodness, right? And if we didn't mention, I am Miho, joined by Pags with the Too Close to Call podcast. And let's start with, what was it, Monday's game against St. Louis, where the Phillies threw up a goose egg, and Vince Velazquez was Vince Velazquez for the second time in a row.
He started out as one of the pitchers that were like, hey, all right, we're seeing some good signs from Vinny. And then back to reality, throwing 3 innings, giving up fucking bomb after bomb. And it's just like, oh, there he is.
The news after the game was how Velazquez and JT Realmuto could not get on the same page, and Velazquez was constantly shaking him off. And, of course, Pags, you know how this goes. The one hitter, Realmuto, wanted the off-speed pitch. Velazquez shook it off, I guess a couple times, went to the fastball, and the guy hit it to basically the moon. So it's the Bull Durham scene where he's just like, you're getting a fastball here. And when you speak of me, speak well. And he crushes it. He takes the ball out, and the guy's like, hey, you told him I was going to throw a fastball, huh? He's like, yep. Damn, that thing went far. Anything that goes that far ought to have a damn stewardess on it, don't you think?
That's a good movie quote right there, buddy.
Oh, fantastic. But Vince Velazquez officially on the hot seat. There's your hot take from Monday's game. Hot seat, Vinny. You're getting a maximum of 2 starts here, bud. If you go out one more time and suck and they pull the trigger, I will not judge them. It will be slightly quick, but as they've shown, every start matters. If he gets 4 and they're all shitty in a row, Pags, that's when it may be Nick Pivetta time coming back here, because we can't give you a month of 3 to 4 innings with 5 to 6 runs.
His seat's getting warm. We can't have our starters going 3 innings and then just completely warping our bullpen.
Yes, and speaking of our bullpen, we actually made one move there where they called up Edgar Garcia, who made his season debut Monday. He actually did give up a run and a couple of hits. Obviously, he was probably nervous, freaking out in the big league debut, but he bounced back in Saturday's game, which the entire Phillies bounced back. He threw a scoreless inning with a couple of strikeouts, and Edgar Garcia, word on the street is for him, Pags, he may have the best slider in the entire Phillies organization.
That's good. I'm glad we called him up.
So he was in AAA. The fastball's apparently okay, but the slider is above average. So when you watch him throw, that'll be the go-to in those key situations.
I'm excited to keep watching him pitch.
Tuesday's game, 11-1 Phils. Aaron Nola improves to 3-0 on the year. He's still battling himself just a little bit, but this was another step in the right direction. Less walks, more strikeouts, only 1 earned run. It was on a home run in 6 innings. 101 pitches in 6 innings, so not your typical Nola, hitting his spots. But he's grinding, and obviously his stuff is good enough, and he's a good enough pitcher to have these starts still when the best of the best isn't coming out on that day.
As a pitcher, and obviously Nola has the stuff, how much of a learning curve or not more of a comfort level does it take to get used to like a JT Realmuto? Can you do that in spring training with a new guy behind the plate?
It'll take a couple of starts into the regular season to get on the same page. Nola's one of those guys that trusts his catcher, so whatever he puts down, he's going to throw, and obviously JT with the reputation of being one of the best in the game. but there is that kind of unspoken feeling of the catchers receiving. Like in college, there were definitely certain catchers that I'd like throwing to better than others, just because of kind of their framing ability and how they, work the hitters and their pitch calling. And you have a better connection. That's just kind of that unspoken bond of like, I fuck with this guy a little bit more than this guy.
Well, that's good, because I think that's kind of what we saw in the beginning, where we were like, he's just getting used to Real Muto, and he's kind of getting into this little groove here, and it's good to see it, because he's the one guy, if it comes down to one game, we got to rely on him.
We're going to need him, and we're going to need this goddamn offense to show up like they did, with Harper, Hoskins, and Real Muto going a combined 8 for 12 on the day. Harper 2 for 3, Hoskins 4 for 5, Real Muto 2 for 4, and Harper's one of his 2 hits was his first grand slam in a Phillies uniform. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, that was the one shining moment on that Tuesday night when the Sixers are getting the shit kicked out of them, and at least Bryce hit a grand salami.
It was a nice video update in between timeouts, flicking over. 4-0. Oh, social media, what happened? Bang. Yeah, motherfucker, let's go.
I feel good again.
Harper continues his push on the road and needs to relax, like we talked about in the Dollar Dog Pod at home, just a little bit for us.
Sure. Going into Game 3, getaway game at 2 o'clock in St. Louis, and Jared Eichhoff, one of my faves, just keeps hitting the corners, man, and the Cardinals could not figure him out.
8 innings, 3 hits, no runs, only 4 Ks. Like I said, 106 in 8 innings compared to Nola's 106 innings. That's where he was still kind of fighting it a little bit. But Eichhoff is a little bit of a throwback, dude. He's 91, 90, maybe 92, but he's in, out, plus curveball, plus slider, 3 pitches, anytime during the count. It's fun to watch, just kind of, with this new age throw ball hard, that this guy can still kind of come out and dance it in there a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see. And I think our pitching rotation is starting to kind of take its form. I still do believe that they're going to add an arm eventually, but it's nice to see these young guys that we have come up through our system or have traded for and brought through our system to start succeeding on the high level.
Eichhoff is an X factor, man, because if you're going to get Nola Arrieta for sure for the year as long as they're healthy, and if Eichhoff can be that number 3, which allows you to dance with those Eflin, Velazquez, Pavetas at the bottom end, it's like, hey, no matter what, we're going to get 3 quality starts from those guys. So you're 4 and 5. Those are wild cards regardless of where you are. And if your wild cards have the upside of Eflin going, 8 innings and 1 run his last time out, or Pavetta when he's hot and locked in, not so much Velazquez. Ultimately, I think it's going to be Eflin and Pavetta, and Velazquez is going to go to the back end of the pen. But offensively, Cesar Hernandez, Pags, he's clearly a listener of the pod, because it was about a month ago where I was like, he's got to pick it the fuck up. And don't look now, but my man's hitting 305 on the year and is 1 percentage point behind Segura for the team lead.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm very happy to see Cesar hitting well. It's time to get this dude shipped out of here and get something for him. And I don't know what we're going to get for him.
Are you saying now, or you're saying like this trade deadline?
I'm saying this trade deadline. We
Okay.
need to get him out of here. And if he's performing well, great. I see this Cesar every year. He's a consistent player. I'm a big fan of his. But it's time to get something for him, because Scott Kingery is the future of this program, and we need to get him rolling. And he was rolling until he got hurt there. So
that's the toughest part,
what
man, is because you got to have Kingery come back and prove that wasn't, just a hot week or a hot 2 weeks, and he can kind of sustain it for a month or two, because you don't want to move on from a big league guy who's hit 294 for 2 full seasons, over 300 here again. You just can't move that guy for peanuts because, we may have somebody who's even better behind him. Well, Kingery played last year and he hit like fucking 210. So maybe we should move Kingery out of here because he still has potential. Well, you know what potential does, Pags? Potential gets coaches fired. Potential's going to get Brett Brown canned is what potential's going to do. So That's a tough spot to be in as a GM, and financially, if you can afford both, because Casar is still relatively cheap, that's where, dude, he's going to sit on it as long as he can, and it's going to continue to irk us, and I think maybe even linger into another offseason. If you can get something for him, maybe like a bullpen arm, a AA or AAA bullpen arm that's not far away, I just can't take a lottery ticket for a big league second baseman hitting 300.
I agree with that. We need to get something good for him. And I don't mean just to ship him out, just to ship him out. But if we could get something of value that's going to benefit us this year or in the near future, then I would go ahead and do that.
That's going to be an interesting little deadline. And maybe you can package him with like a Nick Williams or something like that to get you a front-end starter who's got a year or two left on his contract, because you wouldn't want to ship that out for a rental. I don't know who would be those guys. Maybe a guy from the Royals people have talked about, but either way, the Phils 21-15, 3.5 games up on the Atlanta Braves in second place at 18-19. And briefly on the rest of the NL East, Pags, I saw an article that said 4 managers on the hot seat. Well, 3 of them were in the NL East, and it was the Braves guy, the Mets guy, and the Nationals guy.
Wow.
Tough start for all those squads who were supposed to be in contention, and they're all under 500. So that is bad, man. They're just not good.
I think before we end this, we would be remiss not to say rest in peace to David Montgomery, longtime Philly exec.
The coincidence yesterday of him being with the Phillies for 48 years, and number 48, Jared Eichhoff, has a hell of a start.
That was awesome.
One of those things that you just can't explain, and that is a bummer. And
it was cool how the game yesterday, every inning they had somebody call in and kind of talk about it. They even had Manfred on talking about him and the impact he had on not just the Phillies but baseball as a whole.
Absolutely, man. And they're off here on Thursday, a travel day for the Phils as they head to Kansas City. You think that's Missouri or Kansas, Pags?
It's Missouri.
Oh, it's Missouri. I got him. He was on the ball, ladies and gentlemen. But we got Arrieta, Eflin, and Velazquez in those 3, and I'll just keep my mantra, Pags, of 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you guys Sunday or Monday, and this was the Philly Fanatic Podcast brought to you by Too Close to Call.
Go Phils!
Peace.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities. And let the city celebrate.